Imagine a civilization so advanced that even after 12,000 years, we still whisper its name. Atlantis. But what if I told you that new satellite evidence suggests this legendary city may not just be a myth? What if Atlantis truly existed, and we are closer than ever to finding it? The story of Atlantis begins not with archaeologists or explorers, but with a philosopher, Plato, writing in the 4th century BCE. In two of his dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, Plato described a magnificent island civilization located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar. According to him, Atlantis was a powerful empire that existed around 9,000 years before his time. It was said to be larger than Libya and Asia Minor combined, filled with grand temples, canals, and palaces, a society rich in knowledge and power. But, in Plato's words, Atlantis had grown corrupt, greedy, and arrogant. The gods punished it by sending a single day and night of catastrophe. In that sudden cataclysm, Atlantis was swallowed by the sea, never to be seen again. At least, that's how the legend goes. Why Atlantis fascinates us. For over 2 millennia, Atlantis has captured the imagination of poets, adventurers, and scientists. Was Plato writing history, or simply creating a moral allegory about hubris and the downfall of nations? Many argue that Plato used Atlantis as a warning. In Athens, his audience had recently experienced the Peloponnesian War, a brutal conflict that showed how ambition could destroy even the strongest empires. Atlantis, then, might have been just a parable. But, the level of detail in Plato's account is hard to ignore. He described specific dimensions, laws, and architecture. He even provided a location, beyond the Pillars of Hercules. Why give such precision if it was pure fiction? That mystery is what has kept Atlantis alive. Ancient interpretations. After Plato, other ancient writers debated his tale. Some, like Crantor, a philosopher in the 3rd century BCE, took him seriously, claiming Egyptian priests had preserved records of Atlantis. Others dismissed it as fantasy. But the idea never truly died. Medieval scholars reinterpreted it, Renaissance thinkers revived it, and by the Age of Exploration, Atlantis was often linked with the New World. Many Europeans believed the Americas might be the remains of this lost civilization. By the 19th and 20th centuries, Atlantis fever had reached new heights. Writers like Ignatius Donnelly popularized the idea that Atlantis was a mother civilization, spreading knowledge of agriculture, architecture, and astronomy across the globe. In his famous 1882 book Atlantis, The Antediluvian World, Donnelly argued that cultures from Egypt to the Maya shared too many similarities to be coincidence, they must have inherited wisdom from Atlantis. It was a bold claim, and one that shaped how we think about ancient history even today. Modern fascination. Atlantis appears everywhere, in movies, novels, video games, and even conspiracy theories. Why? Because it represents the ultimate mystery, a golden age wiped away, a warning of hubris, and the tantalizing possibility that human history is far older and more advanced than we think. But here's the twist. For centuries, Atlantis was just a story. A legend. A philosophical tale. Until now. Transition to evidence. In the last 2 decades, technology has changed the game. Satellite imaging, deep-sea scanning, and digital cartography have uncovered strange formations under the oceans and across deserts that some researchers believe may point to Atlantis, or at least to a lost civilization that inspired Plato's tale. From mysterious concentric rings in the Sahara Desert, known as the Eye of the Sahara or Richat structure, to underwater anomalies off the coasts of Spain, the Caribbean, and even Antarctica, suddenly, evidence is piling up. And unlike myths of old, these are not just words. These are images, maps, and data, accessible to anyone with a computer and curiosity. In Part 1, we trace the origins of Atlantis, from Plato's writings to centuries of speculation. But now, with the power of modern technology, we may finally be closer than ever to answering the question, was Atlantis real? And if so, where was it? The search for Atlantis across the globe. For generations, scholars and adventurers have searched for Atlantis in nearly every corner of the earth. The reason? Plato's descriptions are both precise and vague. He gave distances, dimensions, and details, but interpreting them has always been tricky. Let's look at some of the most compelling candidates, many of which have been investigated using satellite maps and modern imaging. The Mediterranean theory. One of the most popular ideas is that Atlantis was not in the Atlantic Ocean at all, but somewhere within the Mediterranean Sea. Santorini, Thera around 1600 BCE, the volcanic island of Thera erupted in one of the most catastrophic events in human history. The explosion wiped out much of the Minoan civilization, a highly advanced society known for its palaces, writing systems, and seafaring. Some argue Plato may have been describing a memory of this disaster, passed down through generations. From space, satellite imagery of Santorini reveals the massive caldera, evidence of an eruption so devastating it could have inspired tales of a land swallowed by the sea. But there's a problem. Plato said Atlantis was larger than Libya and Asia Minor combined, and located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, not inside the Mediterranean, the Caribbean and the Americas. Another theory is that Atlantis lies across the ocean in the Americas. The Caribbean ruins, satellite and sonar mapping of the seafloor near Cuba and the Bahamas has revealed puzzling formations. Off the coast of Bimini, for instance, divers discovered what is called the Bimini Road, a series of massive stone blocks that some believe are remnants of an ancient harbor or causeway. To this day, satellite images of the shallow Caribbean waters show unusual geometric shapes, though skeptics argue these are natural formations. Supporters of this theory believe Atlantis might not have been destroyed, but rather was a memory of civilizations in the New World, societies that stunned Europeans when they first arrived. The Eye of the Sahara, a satellite revelation. Perhaps the most exciting candidate revealed by satellite imagery is in the middle of the Sahara Desert, the Rikat structure, also called the Eye of the Sahara. Seen from space, it looks like a massive bullseye, concentric circles stretching over 25 miles across. Why do some believe this could be Atlantis? Plato described Atlantis as a series of concentric rings of land and water, with a central island. The Rikat structure matches this layout almost perfectly, except today it is dry desert. Satellite data shows signs of ancient riverbeds in the region, suggesting it may once have been lush and water-filled. The geological surveys confirm the structure was once carved by water erosion, making it a possible location for an ancient, thriving city. In recent years, Google Earth images of the Eye of the Sahara have fueled online debates and documentaries. Could the desert hide the remains of Atlantis, buried beneath layers of sand? Spain and the Dinana Marshes. Another hotspot for Atlantis research is southern Spain. In the Dinana National Park, researchers using satellite imaging and ground radar have identified strange circular and rectangular shapes buried beneath the marshlands. Some claim these are the remains of an ancient city destroyed by floods and tsunamis thousands of years ago. The site matches Plato's description of Atlantis being beyond the Pillars of Hercules and near fertile plains. From the air, the satellite images reveal eerie geometric outlines, rectangles and circles that don't appear naturally. Whether they belong to Atlantis or another forgotten civilization is still under investigation. Antarctica, the icy theory. One of the more controversial theories places Atlantis in Antarctica. Satellite maps have revealed strange linear features beneath the ice, sparking speculation that an ancient civilization once thrived there, only to be buried when the continent froze. Advocates of this theory believe Earth's crust may have shifted during a cataclysm, moving Atlantis south to its current icy prison. Though mainstream science largely rejects this idea, satellite imagery has undeniably shown unusual formations beneath the Antarctic ice sheet, leaving some to wonder what secrets remain hidden. What makes these modern theories different from centuries of speculation is technology. With tools like Google Earth, anyone can scan the globe for anomalies. Many discoveries that fuel the Atlantis debate were not made by scientists, but by curious individuals poring over satellite data. High-resolution imaging allows us to see patterns, rings, grids, and lines that were invisible before. And while not every anomaly points to Atlantis, the sheer number of discoveries suggests our planet may be hiding far more ruins of lost civilizations than we ever imagined. So, what do we do with this evidence? Are these anomalies proof of Atlantis, or are we seeing patterns where none exist? In Part 3, we'll examine the biggest debates among scientists and explorers, explore how myths can blend with reality, and ask, could Atlantis be both legend and truth at the same time? We've followed Atlantis from Plato's writings to satellite discoveries that point to strange formations around the globe. But are we uncovering truth, or simply chasing shadows? In this final part, let's explore the debates, the science, and the mystery that keeps Atlantis alive to this very day. The divided world of Atlantis believers and skeptics. The search for Atlantis has always been marked by a deep divide. On one side, believers argue that the evidence, from the Eye of the Sahara to underwater structures in the Caribbean, is simply too compelling to dismiss. On the other side, skeptics claim we're falling victim to wishful thinking, misinterpretation, and even optical illusions. Believers see Plato's account as historical fact, passed down from Egyptian priests. They argue that too many global anomalies, visible through satellite imagery, fit his descriptions to be coincidence. Skeptics, however, say Plato invented Atlantis as an allegory, a moral tale about hubris, greed, and the dangers of power. To them, searching for Atlantis is like searching for Camelot or El Dorado, chasing a story, not a reality. The truth may lie somewhere in between. Ancient myths often hide real events. One of the strongest arguments for Atlantis being real, at least in some form, is the way myths often preserve memories of real disasters. The story of a great flood appears in cultures all around the world, from the Bible's Noah to Mesopotamian and Hindu legends. Modern science confirms there were massive floods at the end of the last ice age, events that could have wiped out entire settlements. The eruption of Thera in Santorini, for example, left such a mark on the Minoan civilization that echoes of it might have survived as the story of Atlantis. In this view, Atlantis doesn't have to be a single place. It could be a memory of multiple disasters, woven into one story that Plato recorded. Satellite imagery strengthens this possibility. It reveals just how often coastlines have shifted, islands have vanished, and civilizations have disappeared due to earthquakes, floods, and rising seas. The Eye of the Sahara versus the Mediterranean debate. Among the many theories, two stand out as the most popular today: the Eye of the Sahara in Africa, and the Mediterranean hypothesis centered on Santorini. The Eye of the Sahara. Proponents highlight its size, circular layout, and geological features. Satellite maps show patterns of rivers and possible harbors nearby, which match Plato's descriptions. Critics argue that the Rikat structure is a natural formation caused by erosion, with no archaeological evidence of advanced civilization. The Mediterranean. The eruption of Thera is a proven historical event. Satellite imagery of Santorini shows exactly the kind of destruction Plato described, an island collapsing into the sea. But the scale doesn't match Plato's description of an empire greater than Libya and Asia combined. This leaves us with a tantalizing choice: either Plato exaggerated, or we still haven't found the real Atlantis. Modern science weighs in. Modern researchers are cautious about Atlantis, but they're not dismissive. Geologists use satellite maps to study ancient shorelines and tectonic shifts. They've confirmed that coastlines around the world have changed dramatically over the past 12,000 years. Entire cities, like Dvarka in India and Heraklion in Egypt, have been rediscovered underwater. Marine archaeologists rely on sonar mapping to explore seabeds, revealing ruins that were once dry land. Historians remind us that Plato is our only real source, and that his motives may have been more philosophical than historical. And yet, time and again, technology reveals structures that defy easy explanation: massive stone blocks, circular ruins, and geometric alignments that don't fit natural patterns. Why Atlantis captivates us. Even if Atlantis is never found, its story has become larger than life. Why? Atlantis represents human potential, a civilization so advanced it dazzled even the ancients. But it also symbolizes human failure, a society destroyed by greed, arrogance, or divine punishment. In a way, Atlantis mirrors our own fears about modern civilization, the possibility that one day, our world too could vanish, swallowed by climate change, war, or disaster. Every time satellite maps uncover something strange beneath the seas or deserts, people wonder, what if this is it? A blend of legend and reality. So, was Atlantis real? The most likely answer is that Atlantis is both legend and reality. It may not have been a single island continent that vanished overnight, but rather a collection of real events and places, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, and lost cities, woven into one unforgettable myth. Plato preserved this tale, and in doing so, ensured that humanity would never stop searching for it. And thanks to modern technology, satellite imaging, sonar, and ground-penetrating radar, we are uncovering more lost cities every year. Perhaps Atlantis isn't one city, but many. The legacy of Atlantis. Today, whether we believe Atlantis was real or not, it lives on in our culture. Movies, books, and documentaries continue to retell the story. Scientists keep scanning the seas and deserts for new anomalies. And millions of people worldwide still feel the thrill of the hunt, the possibility that one day a discovery will confirm what Plato wrote over 2,000 years ago. Maybe that's the true power of Atlantis, not as a place, but as a legacy of curiosity, reminding us that the past is always closer than we think. Atlantis may never rise from the sea, but as long as we search, we are really searching for ourselves, for our origins, our potential, and our future. The myth endures because the mystery endures. And perhaps, that is exactly how it was meant to be.